What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, welcome to another edition of Quita in the Mornings, because my name is Quita. We in the mornings and we gonna talk about some women's hoops. So get your coffee, get your orange juice, get your water, whatever you gotta get it. Take a seat and let's dive into some women's hoops. Guys, on deck today, we are talking about Unrivaled in the championship game and what happened and how Team Rose ultimately got the dub. I'm going to give them their flowers. I'm going to give them their roses today. We're also going to go through my bracket for the NCAA, okay? We're going to have the official Quita Loves Sports bracket. And I'm going to invite y'all to join me and put in your brackets as well, so we can all compete against each other and ultimately see who is the greatest when it comes to NCAA predictions. Also, got some news about Kellie Harper. She found another job, and we're gonna go through that. That's gonna be really, really fun. And lots more else to go. We're just gonna go until I gotta leave for work. But guys, thank y'all so much for joining me. Hit that like button as y'all are joining in, and tell a neighbor and tell a friend that Quita is on in the mornings, and we really talking. We really talking today. Okay. All right, let's get started, because they were a team that were not supposed to be here. From the beginning, Team Rose was counted out. Predicted to finish dead last in their inaugural season of Unrivaled. ESPN's preseason rankings had them in last place, placing 6 out of 6. So they hung the screenshot on their whiteboard in the locker room all season as a reminder. And that thing became fuel. It became motivation, and on Monday night in Miami, that screenshot became irrelevant, because Team Rose, they weren't last. They were first. Behind a gritty and clutch performance by Chelsea Gray, a dominant inside game by Azurá Stevens, and a game-sealing and one by Brittany Sykes, Team Rose defeated the Vinyl 62-54 to win the first ever championship for Unrivaled. So, how did they do it? Well, watch this.
Gray had 39, a new single-game high. Sykes lays it home.
Try to take advantage of that matchup.
Sykes, nice fake. Azurá, a champion in Chicago a few years ago. Howard in the triple threat. Screen, Hamby. Howard chiseling, pull-up, good.
Facing 3 players. When a player falls down, you really get at a disadvantage.
Now 4 points. Each starter has scored for Vinyl. Picked off by Hamby. Canada, and just the emotion, the love she has for this group. It's shining by Boston. Here comes Aaliyah Boston, a freight train. Okay. Train time, National Player of the Year, Aaliyah Boston. Fortifier. Eyes. Chelsea Gray with 2 assists, early 3 points. Hillman into the ball game. Semifinals against Laces yesterday. Boston looking to carve. Boston the spin. Hillman. Gray draws 2. Blocked by 3 minutes in the semifinals last night against Laces. Ryan Howard on the other side.
Getting to her spots down low, able to finish over the top.
Gray to orchestrate. Stevens on the blow-by. Azurá Stevens finds space. Tonight semifinal, and still without Kalia Copper. Their 2 other leading scorers behind Gray. That's a tough take. In 6 assists. Passes up the 3, touch pass Sykes. Stevens for 2. Differential, let's see if they go 2 for 1. Howard fires the 3. Bullseye. Vinyl the lead going to the 4th. Howard the step back. Stevens. Vinyl get back defensively. Sykes in traffic, scores. Nothing but Erica Hamby. Sling it out to Howard with 2. Contested 3. Howard at the most. 4th quarter points last night. 9 of her 39. Has the space, the mid-range. That's off toes. Out of the garden they come. It's Gray. Crossover. Chelsea Gray has
For a 3-pointer.
Sykes 2 and the foul. And she can win it.
To close it out.
1 for 2 tonight. At 1 and 4, Rose Basketball Club is the first Unrivaled champion.
So we have our new champion. or first ever champion, really. Team Rose did their big one, and for 2 nights in a row, Chelsea Gray did what she did all season long. She delivered when it mattered the most. Less than 24 hours after setting an unrivaled record with 39 points in the semifinals, Chelsea Gray had a really, really rough start for the championship game. However, just like fine wine, Chelsea Gray got better and better and better as the game went on. And she's did her thing, right? With amazing passes in that first half to clutch shots in the second half down the stretch. She finished with 18 points, 8 assists, earning finals MVP. But no other play was as wild as that half court play. Y'all saw it in that recap montage where she literally did a heave-ho at half court. At the end of the third quarter, the ball went straight up in the air, bounced right in, and that changed just about everything. With Vinyl, they were leading at the time. Before that shot, they were actually leading by 1 point. It was 49-48. But after Chelsea launched that shot, she got Team Rose in the lead with a 2-point lead, 51-49, going into the fourth quarter. And guys, after that, the target score was set, and Team Rose never faltered in the fourth quarter. And guys, this was a awesome game for Team Rose, not just for Chelsea Gray, but this was a team effort game because this team won without some of the key players. But honestly, it's nothing new for Team Rose. They entered into postseason already down Kellie, who missed the majority of the season due to a leg injury. Then, ahead of the semifinals, we see that Angel Reese, the Defensive Player of the Year for Unrivaled, was ruled out with a hand injury. So, you had your second and third top scorers for Team Rose out, right? Your top 3 scorers is Chelsea Gray, Angel, and Kellie. Kellie and Angel are out. So, what happens? Instead of folding, Team Rose adjusted. They leaned more heavily on Azurá Stevens, who stepped up big time in the finals and delivered a double-double masterpiece. 19 points, 18 rebounds for Azurá. They leaned heavily on Brittany Sykes, who led the team in points in that finals with 21 points and closed the game out with a game-winning free throw. Though, I gotta say, I don't like the fact that the game was won by the free throw line. I don't like that. I don't. But, alas, here we are. Team Rose, of course, they're led by Chelsea Gray. But when she's 1 of 9 in the first half, the rest of the team stepped up in a big way. And they never wavered in their belief. They leaned heavily on head coach Nola Henry, who, despite being a very, very young coach, is a great basketball mind and a great motivator, and someone who was able to just put the right people in at the right time in order to get that dub. And ultimately, even without Angel, even without Kellie, this team gets the job done. And I gotta love it. Y'all, Kellie was on the bench cheering for the team. Angel was not. I believe she was on a plane watching the game. And she celebrated on FaceTime with her team and whatnot. But she was not actually there. Seems like she had some sort of prior commitment or whatever. But the road to the title for Team Rose was anything but smooth, right? This is a team that opened the season 1 of 4. They struggled with cohesion. They struggled with Nola trying to figure out exactly who to put in at what time. But they tightened up the ship. They got that dog in them. They got that extra motivation that that money will give you. And they finished the regular season out strong, securing the number 2 seed in the playoffs. In the semifinals, they faced against number 3 seed, the Laces. And as I said earlier, Chelsea Gray delivered masterclass. She did her thing in that one. And for Vinyl, they were a team that barely made the playoffs. You know, they barely made the playoffs due to ended up winning due to a tie over the Mist. They stunned the Lunar Owls in the semifinals, which was the top team in the league. And the championship was set against two teams that no one really expected to actually make it this far. And we proceeded to see an absolute show. Close game throughout, a defensive battle, back and forth. Ultimately, Vinyl, they were trying their best, right? Ryan Howard, she was inefficient in this game, but she was trying her best to knock down some points, right? And also, Aaliyah Boston, she stepped up in this one. I thought Aaliyah Boston had some huge minutes. Scoring the basketball, had 10 points, had a couple of blocks. Ray Burrell also was someone who had a couple of blocks coming into this game. Jordan Canada struggled from the field, but ultimately, Vinyl gave it all they had. But when it came down to it, Team Rose just had more bucket getters. And hey, it is what it is. They end up winning this matchup 62-54. And let's get to one point that I really want to talk about. One point I really want to talk about is that that against all odds, without Angel, without Kalia, without the respect that they thought they deserved, this Team Rose, with two relief players on their squad, right? They get the job done. And they win the championship. Now, here's a clip that I really wanted to point out because I thought it was pretty awesome.
About the note that you guys hung on your whiteboard that's on your shirt
it's right here.
now.
Talk
about
it.
Yes. Just the motivation behind this, and it was a driving force for you guys all season.
God, get that. Listen. Off the champagne, I'm gonna have this one. Listen to me. No bullshit. When we saw the little shit on Twitter, we saw it. You know what I did? I said, I already know how Nola is because she be talking that talk. So I said, let me send it to Nola, right? I said, Nola, hang it in the locker room. Period. So we could walk in there and get dressed. And we see it every single day. And you know what was under it? Hold this. You know what I put under and put 3 lines under it? Unknown. Somebody said they put a picture of Chelsea up and said unknown. Don't say somebody. VR. We know who, everybody in our locker room, we know what we were capable of and we know what we could do. What we do?
Yeah, what we do?
What we do?
Number
one, inaugural season, shout out to Unrivaled. Number one. What SpongeBob say? He was number one.
Yeah, y'all, Kappa was on one. She was on one in the press conference. But the reason why I wanted to show that is because this win means way more than just a title to Team Rose. It means that they were able to rewrite expectations. It meant that they were able to prove doubters wrong. It meant that they were walking off the Unrivaled court with t-shirts on, popping, I assume champagne or whatever that stuff was, and letting the world know, y'all doubted us. Y'all thought that we were just the vibes group that were just gonna hang out and have a good time and whatnot. Y'all thought we wasn't gonna win. We took this stuff personal. Y'all thought Chelsea Gray was washed. We took that stuff personal. Y'all thought that this team was not gonna do anything. We took that stuff personal because they knew what their locker room was capable of. And what they do, they won. They changed the narrative. They became the first champions of Unrivaled. And as champs, they take home $50,000 apiece, which is a pretty nice payday for a game. Now, here's the deal, guys. They did have 2 relief players on their squad in Natisha Heidemann, who did not actually play in the game, and they had Naz Hillman, who played about 9 minutes in that championship game. Now, what I don't know is the amount of money that Naz Hillman and Natisha Heidemann get. So the original Team Rose players each get $50K, But what the relief players get, I am not sure. I don't believe that has been released just yet. If it does get released, I will make sure to let you all know. Okay. So the 6 players for Unrivaled or 6 players for Team Rose, the original 6 gets $50,000. What Nas gets, what Natisha Heidemann gets, don't know. They have not released that information just yet. All right. Thank you so much, Stern, for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. Says taking Boston out was so Witherspoon. I mean, Elite Boston needed a break. I thought Elite Boston played great in this game. I thought she played the right amount of minutes. Well, kind of. Because here's the thing. Yes, Elite Boston was having a really good game, but also you had De'Erica Hamby on this team as well, and she is someone who does have the experience and whatnot. Ultimately, it didn't work out where her, Jordan, and Ryan were able to finish it out. But I thought that Aaliyah played some great minutes. I thought she provided a great spark. Sure, could she have gotten a couple more minutes? Sure, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you kind of gotta rock with someone with the people who kind of got you to the dance in a way. And that's why De'Erica Hamby played a lot more minutes, I believe. But I thought Teresa Weatherspoon had a really good game. I thought she had a really good season. And I think she should be proud of herself, right? So that's my thoughts on that front. But overall, really good game for both teams. But ultimately, there can only be one. All right, and this win by Team Rose made me kind of think about the plight of their head coach. I talked about Nola Henry a little bit before, but I want to talk about her a little bit more. Also, guys, if y'all could, please hit that like button. Please hit that like button. That really does help the channel out a whole lot. We got about 190 people in the chat right now. I thank y'all so much. Salute to y'all for rocking out with me. If y'all could, make sure to hit that like button. We're at about 45 likes. If we can get to 120 likes, that would be absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Okay, let's continue on. Now, we're gonna quickly go through Nola Henry and who she is real quick. Then we're going to go into the thing that y'all really want to talk about, which is my bracket for the NCAA tournament. Okay. So let's talk about Nola Henry, because Nola Henry is she has been the epitome of resilience and just staying with it. Because sometimes you just have to start somewhere. Just about 4 years ago or so, Nola Henry was grinding away behind the scenes as an intern for the Connecticut Sun, doing whatever she could to stay around the game that she loved. She's someone who, played in college. She played in college, ended up getting into coaching, became an intern, and now at 29 years old, she was hired as a head coach for the inaugural season of Unrivaled. And on Monday, she made history as the first ever championship winning coach in Unrivaled, and just one of 2 female coaches in the league, winning with her team. Now, her journey came as a college player. She was a college player, a short college player, 5'7" guard at UMass Amherst. She played there before she transferred to the College of Charleston, where she played for two more seasons, right? Then after her college career was over, her playing career was over, she ended up transitioning into coaching in 2018, where she joined the staff at Fairleigh Dickinson, FDU, the team that is actually in this is their first tournament season for FDU. So that's a full circle moment. Anyway, she was a grad assistant at FDU, but her big pro break came when she landed an internship with the Connecticut Sun in 2000, where she was under the leadership of then head coach Curt Miller, where she assisted in player development. She was a video coordinator. She worked with the team operations. And when when she took over when Kurt Miller ended up going over to the LA Sparks. Nola Henry ended up following him, becoming a top assistant for the Sparks. In 2024, meaning, at the end of last year, she ended up being a interim head coach for the Sparks for 2 games. And then her big opportunity came. Her big break came. Unrivaled became a thing. They were looking for coaches, and then they ended up picking Nola Henry as a head coach. This was a new challenge. This was a groundbreaking 3-on-3 women's basketball league. They needed coaches to coach in a style that coaches traditionally have never done. Full court 3-on-3. It's a different style. They needed coaches who had a heart for player development, and they needed coaches who could kind of learn on the fly and just kind of get in where they fit in. And Coach Nola Henry was named one of the 6 head coaches for Team Unrivaled. And she took charge of Team Rose. And, this was a squad that featured some huge talent like Chelsea Gray, Kalia Copper, Angel Reese, Brittany Sykes, Lexi Hull, Azarae Stevens, right? And from the start, Nola embraced the challenge. And she embraced the learning opportunity that this brought. The thing I loved the most about Nola Henry this season is that Nola, she didn't act like a know-it-all. She did not act like she just knew exactly what to do and whatnot. She didn't act like she didn't make any mistakes. She was a coach who actually talked in the press conferences, actually told us her thought process and showing that she was someone who could adapt on the fly. She was someone who listened to her players. Sometimes when Chelsea Gray was like, actually, you know what? I got to play. Nola gave her the board. Right, girl, write your play down. Let's run it. Let's do it. She was someone who, she kind of rolled with the flow and put out strategies and motivation that could work for her squad. And as the games went on, Nola got better at her player rotation. She got better at the overall scheme of the team, and ultimately we see what happens. But initially, it wasn't an easy road. Team Rose started the season 1-4. There was a whole bunch of doubters for Team Rose, and ultimately, Nola Henry used that as motivation. Even when injuries started piling up, when Copper was out for the rest of the season with a leg injury, when Angel missed the final 2 games, including the championship game, right, with a hand injury. The team could have floundered, but Nola Henry didn't let him. She was all about accountability. She was all about adaptability. She was all about belief. And she worked tirelessly with her players on strategy and execution. Before the championship game, Brittany Sykes was working on specifically drawing fouls. And in the championship game, to win the game, Brittany Sykes drew a foul, winning the championship for Team Rose. Making history in Unrivaled is pretty cool. Under Nola Henry's leadership, Team Rose stormed into the playoffs, and they ultimately took down Team Vinyl for the championship, delivering a fantastic basketball game. Here's the deal. I love awesome stories of players, teams, all that good stuff that show up and show out and defy expectations. So what's next for Nola Henry? Well, she is actually hired with the Dallas Wings. She is going to be an assistant coach with the Dallas Wings, reuniting with Coach Chris Koklanis and Kurt Miller, 2 people who know her very, very well. I'm excited to ultimately see what she is able to do with the Dallas Wings. And also, we'll ultimately see if she returns next year as another head coach for Unrivaled. All right, now that is my little recap of Coach Nola Henry. I think it's pretty fun to talk about someone who took a unconventional, maybe you want to call it, journey to being an intern to basically 4 years later coaching a championship team. It's kind of cool. It shows resilience, it shows perseverance, it shows adaptability, and it shows undeniable talent. Started off as an underdog, with her team, but now they're champions, and everybody has to take notice. All right, let's get to y'all comments. We're gonna do about 2 or 3 comments, and then we are going to move on. We're going to move on, okay? Thank you so much. Lilac says, weren't you one of the doubters? You said the Rose aren't winning anything in the beginning. Yeah, I didn't see, here's the thing. I am not pretending that I thought that Team Rose would win a championship. I didn't think they could. When the season started, if y'all remember, I had 2 teams. I had the Lunar Owls and I had the Laces. I thought they were the best teams in the league, right? I thought they were the best teams in the league, and I thought that they were going to, one of them were ultimately going to win it, likely Lunar Owls. Now, I was wrong. One, the huge issue with the Laces is I felt was injuries overall just kind of destroyed everything when it came to Unrivaled. Like, it's unfortunate that that we had so many injuries throughout the season that prevented teams from being at their best and prevented them from having their best roster out there. But I didn't think Team Rose was gonna win the whole thing. I didn't at all. And I don't pretend I did. I didn't. Which is what makes it just so much amazing that, like, a lot of people, most people didn't think that they were going to make it that far, but they did. And I think that's awesome. Prove me wrong. Here's the deal. I am always okay with being proven wrong. I'm okay with that, because that means someone or several someones stepped up and stepped out. It's great. It is great. Shamika says Nola was cool under pressure too. She was. She absolutely was. She absolutely was. But yeah, we'll see what happens. What's up, SDW? Hope you are doing well. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Okay. All right, guys. That was the Unrivaled section. Now let's move on to the NCAA, because guys, we got some stuff to talk about. We have some stuff to talk about, which brings us to the point in the show where I am going to live do my bracket, as well as explain why I'm picking who I am picking. Okay, so let me just pull this up, and we are going to get into it. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I hope it's going to be fun for you all to kind of watch as we do this thing together, as we go through the bracket. Let me know in the chat how many of y'all have completed your bracket already. I'm very, very curious. But yeah, also a thing to note is that the games do start today. All right, those first 4 games do start today. And we're gonna go into that as well. Okay. All right, I think I got everything situated. Okay. Guys, let's go through. Let's go through. Yeah, let's go through my bracket for the NCAA tournament. Here's the deal, guys. I'm not anticipating too many upsets, but I do think there's going to be some upsets. There's going to be a lot of chalk, where the best team will win. However, I hope that there's way more upsets. There's normally way more upsets in the men's game than the women's game, but we'll go through it together. Okay, we're gonna start off with Regional 1, where I think UCLA takes down whoever they face. They're either facing UC San Diego or they're facing Southern. I think either way, they take them down. Just no one can stop Lauren Betts, and that's going to be that. For Richmond versus Virginia Tech, I think this is sort of a toss-up of sorts, but I do give the nod to Virginia Tech. For Ole Miss versus Ball State, Ole Miss's defense is just is just great. So, we'll take them over that. Baylor, Grand Canyon, I think Baylor dominates. Florida versus George Mason. I think that the only reason George Mason will lose is because there's just no one that can stop Taniyah Latson, and I think she's just going to dominate in this one. So I have Florida State winning. LSU versus San Diego State. LSU. Harvard versus Michigan. So I am going to say that Harvard is going to get the dub, partially because I want to upset. Partially because I want to upset, and I think this may be one of those games that is like a huge question mark game of, can Michigan State stop Harmony Turner? Like, Harmony Turner, we may end up seeing her get, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets 40 points in this first round game to make some noise. So I'm gonna say Harvard over Michigan State. Also, NC State versus Vermont. I think NC State takes that. We're gonna stay in this in this region 1, and then we'll move on to the other ones. All right, Harvard versus NC State. NC State has it. I think it's too much. It's too much firepower for NC State. You got Zoe Brooks, you got Isaiah James, you got Sanaya Rivers. Like, it's quite a bit, and it's gonna be too much for Harvard. For LSU versus Florida State, I think this is going to be a very, very fun battle, but ultimately a healthy Flau'jae Johnson and a healthy Anissa Mora, which supposedly they're going to be healthy enough to play, will ultimately take the cake, and LSU will beat Florida State. For Ole Miss versus Baylor, I'm going to say that Coach Yo is about to do her best to shut down Aaronette Vonleh, and Ole Miss takes the cake in that game. UCLA versus Georgia Tech. I'm saying UCLA. Okay, now we are in the Sweet 16, and I have UCLA versus Ole Miss. UCLA will win that because, again, it's Lauren Betts. Like, she's too good. Too unstoppable. Unless she gets in foul trouble, and then maybe it's a different thing. Maybe it's a different thing. All right. Then we have LSU versus NC State. I'm actually gonna give the nod to LSU. I am going to give the nod to LSU. I think it's gonna be a battle of a game. It's gonna be a close game. I think basically the only easy game that LSU is gonna have is that first round game. Second round against Florida State is gonna be tough, but they're gonna get the dub. Because, again, you just have the big three. You just have the big three of, Flau'jae, Anissa, and Michaela Williams, right? So that's going to be a great game. But ultimately, LSU's going to win. Between LSU and NC State in the Sweet 16, I got LSU winning that one. Again, because of the big three that they have, and I just don't think that NC State is just going to be able to get over the hump and get the dub over them. So yeah, I have in the Elite Eight, I have UCLA versus LSU. Now that's one side. Let's get to the other side. Who's gonna be the teams that they end up facing? All right. So South Carolina versus what is it? Tennessee Tech, right? Yeah. I have South Carolina winning that one. Utah versus Indiana. I think this is a toss-up type of game, but Indiana just gets the nod. Because I think they just have a little bit more size on them. Alabama versus Green Bay. Bama. I think y'all are gonna be surprised about Alabama in the NCAA. I think they are absolutely gonna make some noise. Maryland versus Norfolk State. I have Maryland ultimately winning that one. Diamond Johnson's fantastic. However, I think Maryland just has a little bit too much. All right, West Virginia versus either Columbia or Washington. West Virginia. JJ Kennerly is a beast. North Carolina versus Oregon State. I do have North Carolina winning that one. Even though I would love for the Oregon State Beavers to get that upset. I just don't think it's likely. It would be fun, though. It'd be fun if we had an upset on that one. All right, Vandy versus Oregon. Vandy will win because Michaela Blakes is just about that life. Duke versus Lehigh. I think Duke wins that one. Duke versus Vandy. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be a fun battle. However, defense is going to win out, and Duke will pull through. West Virginia versus North Carolina. Toss up. However, I want to say West Virginia, but I also think North Carolina can win. I think this is a toss up. So I'ma just say North Carolina. However, it's shaky. It's a shaky one. All right, Alabama versus Maryland. I do believe that Alabama's going to win. The reason why is because injuries. Cheyenne Sellers is not fully healthy. And because of that, I think Alabama takes them down. I do. A fully healthy Maryland, yeah, they wouldn't lose to Alabama, but a hobbled Maryland would lose. So, yeah. Alabama beating Maryland. All right? And then, of course, South Carolina beats Indiana. So we have, in the Sweet 16, we will have South Carolina versus Alabama. And we will have North Carolina versus Duke. Well, in this one, I have Duke ultimately beating North Carolina. And I have South Carolina beating Alabama. All right. So, in the Elite Eight, I have South Carolina versus Duke. And UCLA versus LSU. Okay, now let's go down to the bottom of the bracket. I have USC beating UNC Greensboro. Cal beating Mississippi State. Kansas State beating Fairfield. Kentucky beating Liberty. Iowa versus Murray State. I got Murray State winning. Like this is going to be a big upset, I guess. Murray State is a offensive juggernaut. They are a team that shoots the lights out. That all they do is shoot. I believe they're leading the NCAA in points scored per game. They are a team that can go off and just drain shot for shot. And Iowa's defense in the interior is good, but outside is a little suspect. And I think that Murray State they're gonna do their thing in this one. Ultimately, I do have Murray State beating Iowa. Now, Murray State is not a good defensive team. They're not. However, I think they are just going to, their offense is just going to be supercharged, and it's going to make up for Murray State's lack of great defense. Because pound for pound, shot for shot, I think Murray State wins. So Murray State will beat Iowa in the first round. That will be an upset. Maybe if you want to call it an upset. But yeah, I do have Murray State beating Iowa. All right. Then we have Oklahoma versus Florida Gulf Coast. I have Oklahoma winning that one. Oklahoma State versus South Dakota State. Oklahoma State. And UConn will beat Arkansas State. All right. UConn versus Oklahoma State. I mean, UConn just has too much. they just have too much. So they are going to beat Oklahoma State. For Murray State versus Oklahoma, because defensively, as I said, Murray State doesn't have it. So while shot for shot, they're going to take down Iowa, in my opinion, I don't think they have a chance of beating Oklahoma because they're just going to get destroyed in the paint. Destroyed by Reagan Beers. So, yeah. Murray State wins the first round, losing the second round. All right. And then Oklahoma versus UConn. UConn just has too many weapons. Too many. You got AZ, you got KK, you got Paige, you got Sarah Strong. Like, you just, like, you got the dub. You got the dub. All right. And then we have Kansas State versus Kentucky. Kentucky will get the dub on that one just because the Clara Strack and Georgia Amore connection is real, and it is fire. It is fire. USC versus Cal. I have USC winning that one. USC versus Kentucky. Ultimately, that's going to be a really big battle. It's going to be a fun game. However, USC will take the cake in that one. And then let's go to the other side. We have TCU versus FDU. We got TCU, I think, is going to pull that off. Louisville versus Nebraska. This is a question mark. I'm not really sure. Like, I really don't have a sense totally on who's going to ultimately win this. I think this is going to be a battle. I think this can go either way between Louisville and Nebraska. I'm likely just going to say Louisville. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cornhuskers pull that off. Notre Dame versus SF Austin. Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is going to right the ship. They're going to right the ship, and they're going to get back to the Notre Dame that we saw earlier in the season. Michigan versus either Iowa State or Princeton. Ultimately, I think Iowa State beats Princeton, and then Iowa State versus Michigan. Michigan all the way. All right. Ohio State versus Montana State. I do have Ohio State winning that one. Tennessee versus South Florida, Tennessee. Illinois versus Creighton. Another huge toss-up. I do ultimately think Illinois gets the dub. Texas, of course, either beats High Point or William & Mary. Texas versus Illinois. I got Texas. Tennessee versus Ohio State. Ultimately, guys, I think Tennessee is going to get the dub because of just the fast-paced offense that they run and the full court press. I think it's going to work. Tennessee looked exhausted by the end of the season into the SEC tournament, and I think ultimately all that rest that they got is going to be big for them, and they're gonna be able to take down Ohio State. All right. And then let's continue on down. Who would they end up facing? We have Michigan versus Notre Dame. I do have Notre Dame winning that one. That's going to be a big battle, though. Like, literally. Like, Silas Orris and Olivia Olson, they're not going to go down without a fight. But ultimately, Notre Dame, I think, just has too much firepower from their starters to not lose that game. And Louisville versus TCU, I do have TCU winning that one. Notre Dame versus TCU, I got Notre Dame. Yes, Sedona Prince is big, and Notre Dame is going to struggle to stop them. I do think Notre Dame is going to struggle to stop Sedona, right? She's really good in terms of being a post player that's, yes, big and can score inside, but also someone who can actually knock down some mid-range jumpers and whatnot. However, I think that defensively, I think Notre Dame is gonna lock down Haley, and they're gonna ultimately get the dub on this one. So I have Notre Dame over TCU. And then with Texas versus Tennessee, ultimately, guys, to be honest with you, I kind of see this as a very close game. Texas, to me, is suspect. Very, very suspect. And if we can see Tennessee, like, step up on the defensive end and play defense in a half-court set, similar to how South Carolina plays some defense, I don't know, guys. Like, I think that'll be a fun battle. Let's look at the head-to-head between Tennessee and Texas. They played earlier this year with Texas barely getting the dub. I think this game is a toss-up. For kicks, I think I might end up saying Tennessee because I think it's gonna be a very close game. I don't think this is a game that, like, Texas is easily gonna get it. If Tennessee can actually play some real half court defense, like, the reason why Tennessee's defense is really good is because they have some great full court defense. But half court defense, can you pack the paint consistently? If you can, I think you get the dub over Texas. So I'm gonna just say Tennessee. Okay, I'm gonna just say Tennessee for right now. Tennessee versus Notre Dame. I got Notre Dame winning that one. And USC versus UConn. UConn wins. All right, so in the Elite Eight, going into the Final Four, we have Notre Dame and UConn. And then we have, I think UCLA is going to beat LSU just because Lauren Betts is too good. And South Carolina versus Duke. I think South Carolina is going to get that one. So in the Final Four, as of right now, now here's the thing. My mind continues to change around this in terms of who may get upset in the Sweet 16. But my Final Four is pretty solid, I would say, between South Carolina versus Notre Dame and UCLA versus UConn. Ultimately, in this one, I do have South Carolina just being too much, way too much for Notre Dame. And UConn versus UCLA, I think UConn has it. Because here's the deal. Yes, UCLA is great. Yes, they have Lauren Betts, who truly, I don't believe anybody in women's college basketball can guard. I don't believe anybody can guard Lauren Betts. I don't. However, or anybody currently in college can guard Lauren Betts. However, UCLA sometimes are their biggest enemy in terms of their guard play. And yes, Lauren is going to eat. However, I think the guards for UCLA are going to get cooked by UConn. And ultimately, that's the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing. So UConn is going to take down UCLA. The reason why, guys, when the brackets were revealed and all that stuff, and you had coaches complaining about where they were and whatnot, the reason why Gino was like, hey, we're going wherever they play us, wherever they put us, is because Gino knows UConn has a really good shot to get into the championship. Like, he knew. He was looking at that and like, oh, we could beat this thing, we could beat this thing, we could beat this thing, we could beat this thing. We can go all the way to the Final Four and the championship game. And I'm going to tell you this. We're going to see another rematch. UConn versus South Carolina. And to be honest with you, yes, we saw earlier this season, South Carolina kind of get embarrassed of sorts. They kind of got embarrassed when they played against UConn. And to be honest with you guys, yes, South Carolina is mad about how they played against UConn. They are. They're mad about it. But I'm gonna tell you this. At this moment, now I'm waffling around it. Like my mind just continues to change. Not about who's making it to the championship game, but my mind waffles around who's gonna win that game. And right now, at this exact moment, I have the slightest nod to UConn. I think this is a date with destiny for UConn. Ultimately, this is Paige Becker's last year. I think all is going to be put out on the table, and ultimately UConn has so many pieces that they are going to win. Now, I could absolutely see South Carolina winning as well. Like I think this is a toss-up of sorts. This is a huge toss-up. But I'm gonna tell you this. I think this UConn team is peaking at the right exact moment. And to me, a huge X factor is going to be AZ Fudd. AZ Fudd. Yes, we all know Paige Beckers is going to do her thing, facilitating the basketball, scoring some points and all that stuff. We all know Sarah Strong is going to look really, really good down low. AZ Fudd and her ability to knock down three-point shots, that's going to be the determining factor on if UConn actually wins this championship. Right now, I have UConn winning. Right now, I do. I think it truly is a date with destiny, in my opinion. But we'll see. Here's the deal. I'm cool with being wrong. And I y'all know this. I am very much cool with that. And I will admit it, right? If I'm like, hey, I was wrong on this one, that's fine. But this is what I think at this exact moment. Now, again, I really do think it's going to be UConn versus South Carolina in the championship game. If South Carolina wins, I won't be surprised. But right now, I have the slightest edge to UConn. I think it's going to be probably like a game that's determined by like 5 points. I think it's going to be 5 points, right? So yeah, I think they're just, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a whole lot, but it's going to be a fun game. It is going to be a fun game, guys. We will have a bracket challenge. I thought I would have it created before I went live, but shortly I will put it in my communities tab where we can actually go through the brackets, and y'all can submit y'all's, and then we can see who ultimately is the best. All right. Mike Boyce says South Carolina are just deep and have someone at every position. They do. This is a very, very deep team. However, and it's true, yeah. UConn, pound for pound, UConn cannot compete at all with the firepower on the bench for South Carolina. They can't. We all know that, right? You got Joyce Edwards, you got Malaysia Fulwell, you got Tessa Johnson, you got a lot of talent on the bench for South Carolina. However, I do think this is a game where the starters for UConn, they basically playing the majority of the game. They're playing the majority of the game, and ultimately, you just see them play out of their mind, right? And truly, I think they're just going to go crazy for Paige because it's her last year, and because she's likely going to be the one UConn superstar to never actually win a championship. I think this is about to be fire. This is about to be fire. The starters are going to basically play the entire thing for UConn. And yeah, the bench will cook for South Carolina, but I don't think it'll be enough. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Who knows? But either way, I wouldn't be surprised if South Carolina wins either, because they are a fan-freaking-tastic team. All right. Okay, thank you so much to Clamp for the super chat. Says Carolina has to dominate the boards versus UConn. Yeah, they do. They do have to dominate the boards. That's going to be a key one. But if UConn's threes are not going down, I mean, it's kind of hard to stop that. Anyway, guys, once again, I have run out of time. I have to go to work. On deck, I wanted to talk about Kellie Harper and her getting hired in the SEC, but I guess I will have to leave that for a separate video. Again, my apologies. I got to figure out a way to be way more precise and concise during my earlier segments, so my apologies on that one. But I will be back later with some videos. We got not a reality show, a variety or comedy type show coming around the WNBA. We have coaches getting hired. We got a whole bunch of news that's happening, and I will keep you all up to date on everything that's happening. It's just that gotta go right now, but I will talk to y'all later. If y'all could, make sure to hit that like button on y'all way out. I really do appreciate y'all so much for rocking with me. Yeah. Chelsea says, Quita, we have the same picks. We are right. Everyone else is wrong. We'll see. Maybe we're wrong and everybody else is right. Who knows? All I can say is I love March Madness. I love the craziness of this time. And I love the fact that virtually no one is fully right. And that's cool. Because who doesn't want upsets? Who doesn't want underdogs? I want all the underdogs to win. Because I love chaos. Chaos on the basketball court. Let's have it. Let's have it. Teams showing up that they weren't supposed to show up. Players showing up that weren't supposed to show up. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm late again. Anyway, I'll see y'all the next one. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This has been Quita in the Mornings. I hope y'all had a good time. Sipping some coffee, drinking some tea, all that stuff, and rocking out with me in the chat. Thank y'all so much to all the chat warriors who are doing y'all thing. We'll talk to y'all in the next one. Good morning, y'all. Bye-bye.